Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks. We're going to get started right away with the small shark. We're going to head over to Big Bayou, it's called, in St. Petersburg, Florida. The date is August 6, 2004. James Tiffee is 47 years old. It's 8:30 at night, and he's making a swim out to a sailboat that's anchored off ashore. He's going in to invite this couple over for dinner. He makes it to the boat. He's halfway back to shore. It's 100 yards off of shore in 5 to 10 feet of water, swimming on his back. That's the way he swam out there and the way he swam back, and that's the way I like to swim when I'm out in the water. It's the least amount of energy to get yourself moving where you need to go. So he's on his back, and he's, like I said, he's 100 yards from shore, 8:30 at night, and he gets hit in the back. He's hitting in the back as he's swimming on his back. He's popped out of the water just a little bit. Shark goes ahead and bites him in his rear, and he gets a wound, it looks like, to his left hand in the picture. And it says that he was bitten in the face also. Now, I can't see the bite to the face. The couple that he went out and invited to dinner, they heard his screams, got in their dinghy, and raced over, and got him up out of the water. And it's a good thing they did. He ended up going in. He needed 4.5 hours, I believe it was, of surgery. They needed to skin graft his back as he lost a 1 foot square, like a square foot of skin off of his back. So that must have been the initial hit that bumped him up out of the water. Then the shark went ahead and bit him in the rear, got him in the finger, but I think that might have been defensive. They don't say anything about defensive, but usually that's a defensive wound when it gets your hand like that. But it says that he was bitten in the face too. Now, I can't see any wound to his face, so I can't confirm that one. But this was a 4-foot shark. Smaller than we normally get into. Probably heard me claiming that these smaller sharks can't do much damage. They don't cause fatalities. So he was doing everything he could. If we were recording this guy, I'd put him down as an attempt to consume. That's something else for a 4-foot shark. I mean, it's not small, but when you consider the smallest shark and the largest shark, it certainly is small. So that's our story of James Tiffee. I just wanted to bring that up because this little guy seemed like he wanted to make the big boy show, and he did so. And now we head to Victoria Bay, which is Western Cape Province, South Africa. The date is May 9th, 1911. James May, 64 years old. He's out. The press reports he went out, went to bathe, and he was disappeared, taken by sharks. It says that the next day a singlet washed ashore, so I don't know if that's a piece of clothing, which you would hope, or like a body part. But after that, the lower half of him washed ashore. It was up to his waist, so it was his jeans, and he still had boots on. No sign of the upper body. I don't think they ever did recover the upper body. We're going to put that down as an attack and a predation. We just don't know what kind of shark. Okay, now we're going to head over off of the coast of Panama City, Florida. The date, August 15th, 1959. Lieutenant James Neal, he and 5 other people are out diving. They're checking out a rock formation known as the groupers back at that time, and they're coming up and they're doing checks with each other. So they're grouping back up at intervals to be able to gather everybody, make sure everybody's there, and then they go back to checking out their rock formations. Well, during one of the routine get-togethers, Lieutenant Neal doesn't show up. The divers, the 5 other divers, along with some Navy spear fishermen that are in the water also, they all launch a search. They search the whole area. Now, one of the divers, when he's down at the bottom, he's near a rock wall. He runs into a 12-foot blue shark. So this 12-foot blue shark comes in, he sees a crevice in the wall, and he crams himself into this crevice as this blue shark is swimming in circles nearby him, and shortly thereafter is joined by a larger mako shark. So there's a mako and a blue shark that has this one diver crammed into this crevice while these 2 sharks swim around. He finally is able to get out and get away. They're wondering whether those were the sharks, one of the 2 sharks were responsible for Lieutenant Neal disappearing, but I'm not sure it was either one of them. I mean, they launched a search. You would think that a shark maybe if it's a bigger than 12-foot mako, maybe that thing could go ahead and deal with it and swallow the man without leaving anything behind. But I don't think that's possible with those sharks. I don't know what happened there. For him to disappear and then 2 sharks to be there, though, it could have been a pack of sharks that were around there. You never know what's going on. I guess the area was known for having sharks in the area, so it's hard to tell what it ended up taking it. We're going to put it down as a predation, but we have no clue as to what took them. We're going to head over to Cuernavaca Beach, which is in Cuba. The date is November 4th, 2017. Jesus Gonzalez is 22 years old. It is his birthday, and he is with about 3 other couples. It's 11:30 at night. They're at the beach, and they decide to go into the water. They're in the shallows. Jesus is less than 3 meters from shore, so he's less than 12 feet from shore. He's in waist-deep water, and suddenly he starts screaming out to the friends, "Hey, sharks got me, please get me out of the water." They go over to him, and they start beating on the shark with their bottles. He must have been drinking. He's 22, it's his birthday. They're beating the shark with bottles. It finally lets go, and it disappears. They get Jesus up onto the shore. He ended up with a huge bite to his groin, nearly severing the leg, removing most of the tissue. It was done by a tiger shark. They don't say what size tiger shark. Even though they gave care to Jesus right away, he ended up succumbing to his injuries, and he passes away. We're going to put that down as an attack and an attempt to predate by a tiger shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to a spot known as Surfer's Corner, which is off Muizenberg in False Bay, South Africa. The date, April 5th, 2004. J.P. Andrew, John Paul Andrew, is 16 years old, and he is out doing some surfing. It's 2 in the afternoon, and he gets himself 150 yards from shore, and there's a gentleman, Chris Baker, and he is out there, and he is hosting a surf class. He's got 15 girls in a surf class, 50 feet away from JP. One of the girls says she saw a shark. He looked over, he couldn't see a shark. He said it was probably a dolphin. Then he sees the shark and tells them all to get to shore. So all the girls, they go to shore. He looks over at this shark, which now is making a beeline, he said, like a submarine, with the powerful tail going, shooting straight at JP, and he sees it just make contact with the board, violently knocking JP off of the board. At the same time, he says he saw a second shark in the area just after that, and then he saw a seal also. Not knowing whether, the other shark is after the seal or not. He knew the shark that went after JP was not after any seal, it was after JP. It knocked JP off of the board. Now, he goes ahead, and there was a surfer, Grant Kirkland, who had taken his wave in. He had seen what happened, and he turned around and he paddled out to JP. He gets to JP, and JP says, "Help, my leg is gone." So he grabs JP, pulls him up onto his board, and he takes him in. JP's able to get care. He ends up surviving. He lost his leg. His leg was bitten off. There was about 2 inches left of leg below the groin, so very little leg left. They said that it looked like you took a meat cleaver and just chopped that straight off. We kind of saw that with a bite to that gentleman's hip, though. It's crazy how clean those cuts are, the way that they cut into that like that. It doesn't even look real when you see it like that. So JP ends up surviving. He had the leg gone. He had the other leg had some, lacerations to it, but I'm thinking that was when it took his other leg. A few days, I think it was 4 days after the attack, his board was bitten in half. They had the front piece, the front half. The back half was gone. They found the back half of the board had floated to the beach 4 days later after the attack, and it still had the leash and part of his leg connected to it. So that's our story of J.P. Andrew. We're going to put it down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. Okay, now we're going to head over and finish out our unprovoked attacks off the coast of South Australia, off of Goldsmith Beach. The date is February 8th, 2014. Sam Kellett is 28 years old. He and 7 others. They're out practicing spearfishing for a competition they got coming up. They were supposed to be at a different location, but there was a threat of wildfires spreading, so they were not able to dive there, and they went to practice at this other location off Goldsmith Beach. It's around noon, and they're all in the water, but they're heading to get out. They're 100 meters from shore. They're all on their way to get out. Most of them are within 10 meters of each other, but there's a couple gentlemen that are within 5 meters of Sam. They're going out. Aaron is the first gentleman we'll discuss. He hears his friend Wyatt yells something to him, so he turns back to see, out towards sea, and he notices a shark tail. He says the tail was out of the water and it was like moving around. So then he goes ahead and he puts his face under the water. The water's clear, but it's kind of choppy, and he gets his face under the water and he's looking and he can't see a shark anywhere. He just saw the tail, but he can't see the shark. He says just then, just behind him, the shark came up on a vertical attack, and he turns around to see the shark up, and he knew it had something because there's blood in the water, but he can't see what it has, but he knows Sam was right there. So the shark breached right where Sam was. There's blood in the water. He can see it's about five meters away, so about 15, 17 feet away. He can see that the shark is there and it has something. He can't see what it has. So now there's another friend that Wyatt, he is about 5 meters away, and he is out towards the sea, 5 meters away from JP, and he sticks his head underwater because he had seen the attack, sticks his head under the water, and he sees the shark vertical in the water, thrashing a little bit, and he knew it had somebody, and it was by Sam's boat. So that was the last place he had noticed Sam. And then there's Nicholas, and he was closest to shore, I believe, but he had heard the screams. He had turned around. He said he saw the whole shark's body come out of the water, that it was a 5-meter shark. So you're talking a 17-foot shark. His whole body came out of the water and slammed down, and then he saw it kind of thrashing around a little bit before the shark had disappeared. Nobody saw a trace of Sam. As soon as this had happened, the shark had swallowed him in that breach move. The other thing is that they ended up launching a search just 1 hour from this attack. Didn't find anything, not a trace of this guy. So, they definitely ended up seeing this guy be taken alive and swallowed whole, completely whole. I mean, usually when you're swallowed whole, like with, what's the gentleman's name? He got lifted up out of the water and then he was taken down to the bottom, and most of the time they see the man in the shark's mouth. It's like, not Jeffrey Brazier, who's that other gentleman. He was kicking at the shark and then it grabbed him all the way up to the arms. Normally you see the person, but this time they didn't see the person. I think it successfully swallowed that man. As for the shark's tail being seen beforehand, this is my opinion on most of these great white attacks, especially great whites. I believe that they check out whatever they're attacking before they do. Seals and sea lions, their normal prey, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they attack people. I think that they check out the people beforehand before they ever do it. And then they pick out which one they want and they go after them. And I'm going mostly off of H. David Baldrich's stats, where he had claimed, most attacks you never see the shark first. But in the ones you do, many of them, they're seen diving first, they're seen going on a beeline at them, or they're seen circling them. That's the majority of the cases where they're seen. These are cases where the shark definitely knows it's a person. It knows what it's doing, and it can see what it's doing. And these ones where 20% of them or 30% of them where the shark is seen and then it submerges, that's exactly what happened here. The fact is, this guy turned out to sea and looked out there, saw the shark tail, and then put his head under water to look for it. That shark had to have gone underneath him to come up behind him and grab Sam. That is such a spooky attack. This is a crazy one, and not one I was familiar with. Like I said, I'm familiar with things back in the day with Baldrich, a lot more than these newer ones, but this one is as creepy as any that are out there. I mean, this is a crazy attack. So that's our story of Sam Kellett, 28 years old, an attack and a predation by a great white. 5 meters. And now we're going to finish out our show with What Were You Thinking? Back in October of 1890, the Proserpina is the name of the ship, Proserpina. The captain of the Proserpina, Captain Lavarello, he got into an argument with the story says with the Australian, and the Australian is noted for his strength. Well, Captain Lavarello gets in this argument with the Austrian, known for his strength, and he is tossed overboard by this Austrian, in which he is eaten by a shark. The reports in the paper talk about how they had to hold everybody back. They loved this captain, and the Austrian tossed him overboard, and he ends up getting eaten. They had to hold him back. They wanted to lynch him on the spot. They said that luckily they didn't do anything to him. They ended up taking him in and having him tried. But, you know, what were you thinking? It's not just the Austrian. It's the Austrian noted for his strength. That guy you don't get in an argument with out at sea. That guy, you write yourself a letter once you get back on port. You write a nice long letter, you put that thing in an envelope, and then you burn it. That's what you do with the Austrian known for his strength. You don't get in an argument with him out in the ocean, especially where he can just pick you up and toss you overboard. I know you don't think he's going to do that, but he's known for his strength. So you should know that he could do it. So what were you thinking, Captain Lavarello? That's our story for today. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me again in the next few days. We'll have another set of attacks. Until then, if you're going into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.